Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have some happy mail that I wanted to swatch for you guys. So as I kind of mentioned on my last haul video, I hope you guys don't mind, but anytime someone sends me happy mail, I like to show it, whether it be just swatching it, doing a flip through if it's a book, but also just publicly thanking the person who sent it, because it's to me incredibly thoughtful that someone would spend their own money on me. Because they could buy stuff for themselves, but instead they choose to send it to someone. And I'm not gonna lie, anytime I get happy mail, I actually get teary-eyed, because I'm blown away at the thoughtfulness of people out there. I have quite a few of you subscribers who have been sending me stuff, and it is just, I wish I had words. It truly is like, I open it up, whether it's from Amazon or mailed privately, and I honestly am just blown away at like the thoughtfulness of people out there. Whether it be another subscriber or a fellow YouTuber, it's just amazing how generous people are in the coloring community and art community. And yeah, so anytime I show happy mail, this is me publicly thanking that person, but also, I mean, someone spent money on me and sent me something. I want them to see it used, so they don't think I just like tossed it in a corner, because I never do. I treasure anything that's sent to me because it's just like, wow. So with that in mind, I have this happy mail here. Now, this is the Derwent Watercolor pencils, and this one was amazing. I did talk about this in my happy mail because I showed it in there. So a couple weeks ago, I was taking Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter's watercolor class, and she was going to use Derwent watercolor pencils. I didn't own them. I was just going to bring my Albrecht Dürer and call it a day. And I don't even know how my happy mail sender knew I didn't have them. Maybe I mentioned it in a video. I don't know. But yes, I received like a day or two before the class Derwent watercolor pencils from the lovely Evelyn. Now, Evelyn is here on YouTube, so I will link to her channel below. She does have a channel. She's very talented. She's started live streaming, and she's also the sweetest person you will ever meet. Like I always say, if you ever see Evelyn in a chat or anything, say hi to her, because she truly is a remarkable person. But yeah, that is what she did. She somehow heard me somewhere say I didn't have these, and sent them to me just in time for the class. So I was blown away at the thoughtfulness of that. And she was so cute about it. She called it my back to school supplies. So I thought that was so cute and adorable. And I didn't get a chance to swatch them before the class because they arrived just in time. And then I was like, oh, I gotta get on to my class. And so I wanted to swatch them on camera with you guys. But here are the 36 Derwent watercolors. I did not own these before, so I was really excited because I've actually always wanted to try these. Let me zoom in just so you guys can see the pencils a little better and make sure I'm on camera. So they're like a hexagonal shape. They're thinner than like, the chunky monkey style of most Derwent pencils, but it makes them nice and light, so it's kind of a nice change of pace. But as always, they have like, the signature color dipped end that Derwent is known for. And then it says Derwent watercolor, and it has the little thing. That always just indicates it's water soluble. Like your Inktense will have that too. The brush, not the watercolor, because they're not watercolor. And then it's got the name and number. And one thing I love about Derwent is they come in numerical order, sort of, depending on the set you get. But like, you can easily put them back in order. They don't have like some random numbering system. Like, they really thought it out when they numbered their pencils. So like, I was able to easily find and pull what I needed. Some of mine are a little dirty from from my class because I was just pulling off the tip for the color. So they've definitely been used. But now I want to swatch them and use the rest. And these are going to be really fun in coloring books. Very vibrant. I used them in the class. I was really impressed at the color range. And this is the 36 count set. And honestly, this is all you need. You don't need the 72. I think it's a 72 that's their biggest. You don't need it because one, you can actually mix these. Hang on, wait for it. Maybe. You can just take your Caran d'Ache palette on the rough side and mix them and make whatever color you want. So you actually don't need the large set. The 36 count is all you're going to need, and that's all Lindsay used for her class. So what I'm going to do is try to, I think I'll put them on this side. So I am not swatching on watercolor paper today because I usually use watercolor pencils in coloring books just because they don't need as much water. So I'm going to swatch them on cardstock similar to what I would use if I was printing out a book, you know, onto my favorite paper, or like say Johanna Basford paper. It's a lot similar to that, so that we can see how they perform on normal cardstock since that's where they'll be used. So yeah, I'm just going to get swatching. Basically what I plan to do is fill in one square and then just drag it the rest of the way. But these are, one thing I can tell you, very soft pencils. So they remind me a lot of the Albrecht Dürer. The second you lay them down, you're just like, oh my gosh, these are so soft and so creamy. And that is a good sign. Whereas like, you know, Arteza Expert, they're pretty rough when you put them down. Like, but look at these. I mean, they cover so well. They're almost like a pencil, not even like a water soluble pencil. I have to make sure these are in order because I did pull so many out for class, Lindsay's class. I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have these in the right order? But I mean, beautiful colors, very soft and buttery. They dissolved incredibly well on watercolor paper. I think I was using the wrong type of watercolor paper. Lindsay's thing didn't say what type to bring, but I meant to ask Lindsay which one she ended up using. But they still dissolved fine. In fact, I have my page somewhere. I didn't even show it in my completed pages now that I just realized that. But yeah, I'm filling in this box pretty heavily just so I can get a good concentration of that color. And then I will be dragging it out and we'll see how far it drags. These are watercolor pencils, so don't expect like with a normal watercolor where it drags really far. You're not going to get that because this is concentrated and it's being reconstituted. So that's something to always keep in mind, because I've noticed people will say, oh, well, it doesn't drag very far. Well, you're re-wetting a dry medium and dragging it. You're not going to have the same drag as if I took a watercolor tube and put a dot of the fresh color there, or pulled it straight from a palette that's been reconstituted with water. Now, if I were to draw these out on my Caran d'Ache palette and wet them and turn them into a watercolor there and then drag them, totally different story. It's really pretty colors. There's skin tones in here, by the way, which are awesome because you can do a portrait with them. I was just like, oh, so excited. I've always wanted to try the Derwent Watercolor. And it was on my list. It's just I hadn't really bought them because, well, I've got so many pencils I don't use. And like I said, each month I'm kind of working to just prioritize, okay, what do I really need this month? Or what do I really want? But they were on my list of things to buy, and she snuck them in there. And when I say sneaky, I mean it in an appreciative way. Truly, I was caught off guard when I went to open it. And I'm so bad. I order so much from Amazon that half the time I get packages, and you guys hear me say this all the time, I know, but I'll be like, oh, what did I order this time? So it's funny, or my husband will like smirk, what did she get this time? And I'll open it and be like, oh my gosh, it's something I didn't order. Or I'll feel bad because my kids are so, unfazed now by how much I buy that they just pile it in my office and don't even tell me there's a package because they're like, whatever, mom will find it. And so I'll find it like a few days later and be like, hey, dang it. But yeah, I was just so giddy with these, and it was so thoughtful that somewhere she was listening and heard that I didn't have these and sent them just in time for the class. So that was extra touching, just because of the thought behind it. And I thought it was adorable that she called it back to school supplies. Like, it's like, oh, that is so cute. I don't know how many of you took that class with Lindsay. It was fun. I plan to actually go back and redo my picture. It moved really quick, because she only had an hour to basically teach us how to do an entire page. And so, and then, Lindsay, that woman can talk super quick. I love her though. Her energy is just like, after watching her, you don't even need coffee. You're just like, I'm energized. But yeah, it was fast, and like I was trying to catch up, and so I plan to redo my picture with the pencils because I have all the colors and I remember the technique, and you can actually rewatch it now. So if you'd signed up for the class, you can always go back and rewatch it and pause it and kind of catch up. So that's what I plan to do. But it was a pretty cool class just to kind of learn some new techniques. Because watercolor pencils, I've never actually colored like scenes with them. I usually use them in my coloring books. And so this was a new experience to do an actual landscape page with a watercolor pencil. And some of these are so dirty because I was pulling the color off the tip, and I was actually using very little water to make it heavily concentrated. So that's why some are dirty, but art is messy. And it's not hurting the pencil, by the way, whatsoever. I didn't pre-sharpen these. I rarely sharpen watercolor and Inktense type pencils because they don't need a sharp point. You're dragging the color where you want it to go anyway. There's really no need. I did sharpen the ones for the class just because I didn't know what tight areas we were going to put it in. But yeah, it was, other than that, I don't often sharpen these. Should you sharpen them to get any manufacturing residue off? Yes, sort of. Really depends. There's a big debate about that. Because, I mean, technically, okay, say you sharpen a pencil, right? Here's the manufacturer's sharpen, and here's mine. I would have to make sure that all of this was removed to remove any residue. So if your sharpener is not the type to remove a bunch of lead as it's pulling it out, you'll still have some residue anyways till you get a ways down. Most sharpeners will remove it, but like if you're using, say, a Tagal, you actually won't lose a ton of lead, so you'd have to keep sharpening. So yeah, I don't know. And then there's also companies that claim their pencils are ready to go. But I mean, the residue on the pencil, the only time I'll do it is like if I'm worried there might be, color contamination, like a little bit of a residue of another color. Budget ones I always sharpen because I just have a feeling there's going to be something gunky on there. But I'll sharpen them before use, but before swatching, sometimes I'm just like, I don't need to do that. Like my latest Felissimo set, I actually didn't bother sharpening those. Just called it a day. And they worked out just fine. So as you can see, this set is like almost perfect for any landscape, like Johanna Basford type book. Loads of greens and blues, good selection of yellows and even pinks, which is impressive in a small set. And then the nice thing is, of course, you can make pink. All you need is a nice decent red and some white and you have pink. And they have given us a very lovely red right there. And there is a white, it's at the end. Derwent always puts their whites at the end of their sets. Fun fact. And then of course, most of the time their whites are called Chinese white. So just to clarify, when people are like raving about the Chinese white pencil, they're normally talking about the Derwent drawing one. So always keep that in mind. They're not talking about just any Chinese white from Derwent. Because when I first got into Derwent, I was like, oh, well, I got my color softs and I got these. And then I realized, oh, they're talking about the drawing pencil one. I still have to try the drawing pencils. See, my list is never going to end. That list is just going to be there haunting me forever. And they did give you a black, which is good if you want to darken anything up. Looking at it, you definitely have some primary colors, so you can mix more, which I'm going to address on one of my watercolor Wednesdays as I come out. I'm going to try and figure out how I do that because I don't want to fully give up Whip Wednesdays because I actually like Whip Wednesdays. I find them very relaxing, so maybe I'll do like a 50-50. Every other week is Watercolor Wednesday, and then the rest are Whip Wednesdays, or maybe, I don't know, we'll see. It's just I don't want to give up my Whip Wednesdays because they're kind of like my therapy session with all of you. All of you watching on. All right, I'm just going to brush away any dust. I'm just using my water brush here. So let's grab, hopefully it's still wet. Let's grab this lemon cadmium. So I like to activate it before I drag it. It's a beautiful color. But yeah, you always want to make sure it's all wet and activated before you go dragging it. Look at that one as it comes out. That's beautiful. Am I on screen? It's always hard to tell. And that one's really pretty too. Really like that one. This scarlet is like a orange, red orange-y color. Again, I'm testing this on cardstock because this is what I would use, or what's in my coloring book, so it's better for me to test it there than watercolor paper. These did do fine on watercolor paper because that's what I used in the class. This one you guys might not be able to see. In fact, let me zoom you in as I shake the camera. Just gotta make sure I'm on camera. All right, so the rose pink, look at how that lightens into such a luscious little color. Okay, Crimson Lake. This color is beautiful. Look at that thing. Magenta. I didn't get to use this in the class, but I can already tell that's going to be very pretty. Oh, was I even on camera for magenta? Well, you see it now. Imperial Purple. Oh, that one drags out lovely. See, I mean, look at how these are just dissolving, though. That is the key of a good watercolor pencil, is if it dissolves and whether or not it leaves lines. Now, you're going to see a little, like, splotchy, but that's because it's the cardstock. This isn't meant to take a ton of water. But what you want to pay attention to is, because I put pretty heavy layers down, are the layers dissolving? And they are. That's the key that you want to pay attention to. Like my Arteza Expert don't dissolve like this. Albrecht Dürer do. I mean, those things just melt away. But look at this one. Like, look at how alive that becomes. And just, that one drags beautifully, by the way. I mean, look at these colors. Oh, they're so gorgeous. I was about to sit down and do payroll for work, and I was like, you know what? Before I get into that headache fest, I think I'm going to swatch some watercolors. Sometimes you just need to take an art break in the middle of the workday, and in fact, I encourage it. You know, some people go for a walk, which I need to do. I'm sure Scout the Husky would agree with that. But this morning I woke up and I was just so frazzled, and I'm still frazzled from my kindergartner's experience. So I thought, well, I would dive into work and then I would take a nice little swatching break. Oh, that one's awesome as well. I just love how these dissolve, because I put very heavy pressure, and just look at that glide right across. Same with this one. Look at that. Beautiful colors. I really have to say, Derwent, when they curate their colors, whether they make a small set or whatnot, you know, because they have the bigger set, the watercolors, but when they decided what colors to put in the 36 count set, they really think it through. I have to admit, I have yet to find like a small set of Derwents where I was like, what on earth are you guys thinking? Why are these colors in here? They really do think it out. That's one thing I've always appreciated about that brand, is just the thought they put into the colors. Even when they have like 24 and 12, you know, count sets, they still really think it out before they put them out there. And that's what's awesome. I'm not really trying to stay in the lines here. I'm just trying to swatch. So if anyone's judging my sloppiness, I'm more just worried about dissolving the color and dragging it. But I mean, look at these neutral and earth tone colors that they've thrown in here. I mean, that is impressive. And I'll zoom you guys out too once we finish. Copper Beach, one of my favorite colors. Derwent does reuse the same names. That's why I was saying with China or Chinese white, you have to remember. People were talking about the drawing one, which I am actually this month going to order a couple in my Blick order and see what all the hype is about. I mean, is it better than the Prisma? Because y'all know I love that Prisma white. I'm almost thinking of doing a battle of the white pencils. You guys will have to let me know if you think that would be kind of fun to watch. And I will buy a bunch of white pencils from a bunch of different brands. Open stock artist grade type ones though. And battle it out on some black paper, but also look at it on a blending perspective. In fact, you know what? You don't even have to answer. I'm just going to do it. I need to get over that $50 mark for free Blick shipping. Let me zoom back out. Okay, so look at these colors. This is what I mean about Derwent. They really put a lot of thought into how they curate their colors. And that's what I love. I love that this is just their 36 count set, but they've given us 3 yellows off the bat, and orange. One orange, no biggie. You can make orange. It'll be okay. Great selection of these kind of more orangey reds. I love that they've given us a rose pink and a pale peach color for skin tones. And in fact, just so you guys can see it, because I know the rose pink kind of, just get more on the tip here. The rose pink kind of faded out a smidgy more. So let me just get some. Takes a minute to wet the leads of these ones. I want to give you guys a little more concentrated color there. But see how lovely and soft that is? And then they gave us a really good red to play with. So, I mean, I can add white to this and make my own pink. I love this magenta color in here. And I love the purples because I hate mixing purples. And I just don't like it. And I love that they gave me an imperial purple, dark violet, a light violet, and a blue violet. So, you know, I got plenty to play with here. But then they've given us all these blues, and they're varying blues. Like this is a blue-green. So this is perfect. Same with the greens. They really thought that out when they did the greens, including giving you olivey tones, which I love. By the way, it's just what I gravitate towards. And then all these browns are awesome as well. But then they've given you like these more neutral colors. And then the terracotta is perfect. I know it seems very randomly placed, but this is awesome because this entire palette would work on any Johanna Basford or nature scene because of everything you have here and the mixing potential as well. Also, they've given you a black, gray, and a white, which are basically the three you need to take any color or color mixture to a totally different level. So the fact that they have incorporated that into their 36 count swatch chart makes me think that they knew you may want to mix these and make your own. Like I can go ahead and add gray to a color. I can add black to a color to darken it up. I can lighten with a white. So they've given me the three things I need to go mix these and make even more. Because like I said, these are mixable. And in fact, I'm going to give you a quick demonstration. So hold that thought. So I have my Caran d'Ache palette here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a basic mix first. So I am going to take my deep cadmium, and this is the rough side. So see, I'm just basically throwing the pigment down here. And then I'm going to take my, let's do ultramarine. Okay. Make sure I got water on the brush. First thing I'm going to do is now mix this. And now it has become a watercolor as opposed to just, I'm trying to clean off. I should have done the yellow first. Hindsight, definitely 2020. So you just pick up all those shavings and they do dissolve. See how they've dissolved there? Now I'm just going to bring these into the center. I can add a little more blue if I want. I can bring a little more yellow in. But now I have made a green. See? Easy peasy. Now, say I want to take my white. This is the Chinese white. You can put down as much or as little as you want. You know, back in the day when I was first getting into these, I would see people take the pencils and put them on a palette, and I was like, oh, doesn't that kind of defeat the whole point? But then eventually I was like, oh, mixing. Gotcha. Okay, so now I'm taking my white and mixing it into my green. See how it's transforming into more of a milky. So now I have just made myself like a pale sage, all by just using a white. Isn't that cool? I mean, you can do this with any watercolor brand of pencils, by the way, which is why I say you could buy a 12 pack. As long as it's got your primary colors, a black, gray, and a white, you are golden. Gray is iffy, okay? If they don't give you a gray, black and white is good too. Where's my black? Hope that was black. Nope, that's blue-gray. I was like, that doesn't look black. And by the way, I am so lazy. I usually put this in my dishwasher. Yep, no shame. All right, so I'm going to take some of this blue and yellow and mix them over here. Hopefully I have enough. Thing is it does dry out pretty quickly. Okay, now I'm going to take some of my black. I don't need it all. I'm going to just mix it in very gently. Now I have a very dark green. Now if I wanted more green, let me just grab some of this over here. Just mix it all as one right now. By the way, this is ultra sloppy. Please do not do this at home, children. I need a little more of my ultramarine. mean, here's the fun thing with watercolors. Just grab your colors and start playing with them. See, now we're at a nice blue-green. And then if I go back and grab my cadmium yellow, like, don't be afraid to mix, like, ever. It'll be okay, I promise. Just adding more yellow so I can get back to my green. And I'm gonna grab a teensy bit of the black, mixing, because I'm trying to get it like a pine green color. I think we're pretty close there. And there you go. All by using, what, 4 pencils? But that's just an example of what you can do. So obviously, you know how the primary colors work to make other colors, but that's the point. You don't need 150 watercolor pencils. Would it be glorious and save you a lot of time? Yes, that's why I buy them. Did I need 120 Albrechters? No, but I did not feel like mixing 120 pencil colors, so that's what I did. But they've given you everything you need here to make so much. I mean, we've made a pastel, we've made just our general green, we've made kind of a, that one didn't get as dark as I wanted, but we've got our dark green here, and then we even have a blue, and you can just keep adding, like add your black to your blue. See what happens. Don't be afraid. Let's even add some of our yellow over here. You know what? And then I want it lighter, so I'm going to add my white. Like, just go mixing crazy, and then just write down what you made or what you mixed. Because there's nothing worse than being like, shoot, what colors did I use for that? But I mean, you can make anything. And yes, you can also make mud. Sometimes mud happens. You gotta kind of be a little more cautious or conscientious of what you're doing. But when I do my watercolor Wednesdays, we'll kind of go over that. This is just me playing around, by the way, because I just kind of wanted to show you what black, white colors make multiple colors. And the mixture ratio is very important, like how much of each you use. So if you're ever looking at a watercolor book and it says 20, 30, 50, that means 20% of one color, 30% another, 50% another makes your color. And you're probably thinking, well, how on earth do I measure it? You kind of just eyeball it. I mean, there are ways to measure it, but if you want to be driving yourself bonkers, do that. I eyeball it. If I have a glob here, I make sure that I take most for my 50. That would be most of my 50. I would put it there. And then my 20s and 30s, I would obviously take less. And then if I feel I need more, I would pull more of my 50. I eyeball it. Again, there are scientific and more accurate ways, but the whole point is to mix and have fun, not drive yourself bonkers and measure out things. And look, I was just playing around and made some very pretty greens and blues. Actually, that blue is stunning. Oh my, I like that blue. But when you put a watercolor pencil down and constitute it with water, you have turned it into a watercolor. So instead of like working with this range where you're just dragging it out and you have what you have, you can actually turn these into watercolors. So it's kind of handy if you're traveling or you're working in a small space, because watercolor pans are great, but they're kind of a pain in the butt for mixing and working around. Whereas I can take this with me, my pencils here, pull out what I need, mix what I need, wet it, put it in my artwork, and then all I have to do is like seriously run this under the sink and off it goes. And then I just bring my watercolor brush. So you can do more watercolor without having to bring pans and jars and all that. So something to keep in mind. But let me get this little fun fest out of the way. Sorry, I was having some fun. I've been mixing a lot of watercolors lately and I'm just finding it addicting. But yeah, so thank you, Evelyn, so much for sending me these watercolor pencils. I can't wait to play with them more. I definitely have already used them, but I can't wait to use them even more. And Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you have questions about these, let me know. This is kind of a swatching and first impression. I'll actually review these after I've played with them. And you will see these in Watercolor Wednesday because that will include watercolor pencils for those who don't want to mess with actual pans, palettes, and tubes. I wanted it to be carefree. So you'll see watercolor pencils as well. But thank you guys for hanging out with me, and until next time, take care.